So far we've been looking at regular layers here in Photoshop's layers palette, but we're going to take a look at type layers in the next two videos here because they're a different kind of layer, if you will. The way you get to create a type layer is by clicking on the type tool in the toolbox. You can always just hit the letter T as a keyboard shortcut. And the design that we're looking at here is something that one of our designers over at kelbytraining.com created for a Lightroom DVD I made. It's called the Lightroom 2 Power Session. So I'm going to recreate the text that was added inside here. So the way we start off is just click when you have the type tool selected, just click on your canvas, and it creates a type layer inside the layers palette, and it also leaves your cursor kind of flashing over here. And I'm just going to type in the word Lightroom in all caps. Now, to commit your text, which means I'm done with this layer, I'm ready to go on and do something else, you can click on that little check box right at the top here. You can also, if you've got your type tool active, instead of clicking on that checkbox, you can hit the enter key on your numeric keypad. All right, you can't. It's got to be the numeric keypad. If you hit the return key on your regular keypad, it's going to add a line break in there, and that's not what you want. But if you hit the enter key on the numeric keypad, that'll commit your text. And then we can use our move tool. We can come over here. We can move it over. The next thing I want to do is maybe change some things about the text. So I'll select the type tool again. And instead of changing the whole type layer, which I can do, okay, I can change anything about this just by selecting this type layer, just clicking once on it. I can come up here. I can change the font size. I can make it larger. I can change the font. I can change the font style. And in this example here, I am going to leave it at Gill Sans Light. That's the font that I want to use for the word Lightroom, but I do want to make some of the letters smaller. So I'm going to click right before the I and then drag. It's just like a word processor. You click and drag to select text and come up here to the size setting and just drop it down. And that way what I have here is, if you look, let's go ahead and commit this text. You can see I've got the word Lightroom, but the capital L is larger than the rest of it. All right, another option that we can have up here at the top is to change the color. Click on this little color swatch and change it right here, or you can click with the eyedropper and sample something from your actual image. We'll hit OK. Now let's go ahead and add some more text here. I'm going to click with my type tool and I'm going to type the letter 2, or the number 2, I should say. And let's change a couple things about this. I'm just going to click and drag to select it. I'm going to go with the font. Let's go with Monaco, and I'm going to crank this one way, way, way up in size. All right, that's looking pretty good, and I'm going to use the move tool to just move this over to the left, just so we can kind of tuck some of the text in there. And then the next thing we'll do here is create another type layer, so grab your type tool, and here's a little trick for you because this happens a lot. I want to create some text right below the 2. And if you look, if I click right now, even when I'm near the 2, watch what happens. If I start typing, see how it added text in front of the 2? And that's because I selected that 2 layer here, and I'm adding text in front of it. And that's because it's so close to where I want to type. The way to get around that is if you hold down the Shift key, notice my cursor changes. Now if I click, it automatically creates a new type layer, and you can see that over here in the layers palette. Even though it looks like it might be adding to this one, it's not. And I know that it's going to be way too large, so I'm just going to take it down now because we're going to have to. And I'm just going to type in Power Session. Let's go ahead and commit this text. We'll use our move tool. Let's move it into place here. I also want it to be a lot smaller than it is, so just change it. Remember how I don't always have to select it, but I do have to have the type tool active if I want to change it. So just select your type tool, and let's go with something like Myriad for this one. You can see it changes it right on screen there. And I'm also going to come up here and take my font size down, and let's try it now. Let's see if it fits in there. Coming pretty close. One of the tricks you can do here is, instead of trying to get your font size perfect up here, you could always go up to the edit menu and go down to free transform and just hold down the Shift key, and you can transform the text that way. So now, instead of having to do it by trying to figure out exactly what font size it can or should be, I can just use the free transform tool and I can do it visually. All right, and there we go. So that's looking pretty good. The best part about this is that these are type layers. Like all things about layers, they're very, very flexible. I can come up here, I can change the text, darkroom. All right. I can change the text. I can change the color, the font, the size, every part about it, as long as I save this as a PSD file. These type layers are always going to be flexible for me, so I'm never stuck with the type that I create. Now, that's kind of the basics of the type tool. In the next video, we'll take a look at some of the more advanced things that you can start to do with your type layers.